Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Quarter Horse Customs. I have a winter project update for you guys. So, it is getting cold here in Ohio. It's time to start putting these things away for winter. So, I want to update you guys on some of the plans that I have. That way they're not just sitting and not getting anything done to them. So, here we go. First off, the big thing is I need to get all these cars off of their tires. I don't want to ruin the street set for drag week. I definitely don't want to ruin these because this is going to be a long-term project all winter. And then I definitely need to get this one off the slicks. We just put it on slicks to see how it looks. And then I also need to get the camper off of its tires so it doesn't get flat spots as well. Along with that, Project Apocalypse here is still running just regular water. So I need to get some antifreeze in here because I don't want to have a cracked block right before sick week. And then this car over here is going over some major remodifications. So this was the second car we did. We did my wife's V8 swap in her blue Mustang first. And then we had to rebuild a motor for this. And then we had some complications with the motor. We thought we had some bad rocker arms and spark plugs weren't looking even. And it was a really unhappy combination that we had in here. And so we decided to pull the motor out. The wife said, hey, pull the 289 out of my car. I want to get it painted. Sadly, life has just gotten in the way over and over again to get her car painted. So the 289 has been living in my car for quite some time as a carbureted setup instead of the fuel injection. Well, the carburetor we put on this car, it did not run to save its life. I had my dad rebuild it. We went through it. We went through it again. We've had it looked at, and it's a really old Holly. It's, I think, from the 80s. And it's got an accelerator pump ball that is just causing some issues. And every time I go to find bowls for it at swap meets and stuff, it's like I can't find a freaking mechanical secondary carb. So I finally found one, and then here I find out the secondary bowls are messed up. This car's going to be getting our Holly Sniper we picked up off of Facebook. It's just sitting down there. I've got the rest of the crap in here. So this car is going to get updated to the Holly Sniper because the goal for this car isn't to be a race car. It's just I want it to look good. Can I take it up to some cruises? Can the wife hop in it, turn key, and just go? You know, if we were having a Mustang Club event or something, can I just get in, turn the key, and go with that? You know, we want to drive to Michigan? Sure, let's do it. Project Apocalypse has opened my eyes up a lot to what I can and can't do with the cars. Before, I've always been like, I'll just take my truck because it's quite a bit of a drive. And now I'm just like, 500 miles? Let's go. Except the carburetor in this car has made the car almost unbearable to drive. You're sitting there cruising, all of a sudden it's brrr, brrr, brrr. So I'm done messing with it. We're going with the Sniper. I figure this is a great car to put it on considering we only paid $500 for it. And if it works, great. And if we go, hey, you know, man, this is not the setup that we really like. You know, it's got some issues. I didn't put it on Project Apocalypse, which is running good. It's on a car that, if it's not quite up to the horsepower task, it's not a big deal. But if it's something we like, it's something we could look for doing to that car, or maybe a Terminator setup, or maybe even the wife's car. But I also have a couple other things I got to do to this car. For instance, right now we have drag lights on the front. And these vision wheels in the back. Oh, man, I need to fill my bias plies. This is why we don't store them on bias plies. Oops. Anyway, I want to get a bigger tire for that. I want like a 255. I like the look of that rim on here. But I need to find some for the front. I want to find I think the 7-inch wide. Still kind of give it the big and little look. But I don't want to try to go cruising on like Power Tour or something on the 3-inch skinny. And then I also have some leftover parts from that parts car that I want to throw in this car to give it the stance we want. Because right now, those are 2.3 4-cylinder springs. Gave it a good stance. Don't get me wrong. Great stance. I liked it. But the back has like no suspension and the springs are just worn out. And it's just not a very comfortable drive. So these guys were from that parts car we picked up. They're, I think, like 1.5 inch lowering springs. So we're going to put these in there to hopefully bring the comfortability over the ride up, because those airbags can go into the Reaper Stang for the wife or something else. That way she can have a drag and drive trailer too. and gives the car a good stance and improves the drivability. Now, Project Apocalypse is almost all good to go. She also needs to be put on some winter tires to store. We have been having some fuel pressure regulator issues. If you see, I have this all the way out, and we're still sitting at like 9 PSI. Pizza face? We need to fix the fuel pressure issue on here. So I called Holly and I said, hey, you know, what the heck's going on here? I have this all the way out, and it's still sitting at 9. And they said, well, you could have a return line pressure issue. I said, no, I got a pretty good line. It goes straight back and just right into the tank, right into the bottom to prevent aeration. And he goes into the bottom. And I said, well, yeah, to stop aeration. Apparently that's not what you want to do, because the pressure of the fuel down there can actually cause a buildup of a little bit of pressure, causing it so the return line can't dump fast enough, so it builds pressure in the line, builds pressure up into the car because the flap can't close. So, gotta drop the tank again, so that way I can fix the return line. And then we also got to jet the carburetor jets down, because when we went on our little mini drag and drive, after we fixed the carburetor base plate gasket and weren't getting that unregistered air, we're running richer than Bill Gates. So we need to dial that down. And then we also got to do some preventative maintenance, nut and bolt check. I have an idea to stiffen up the rear control arms a little bit, because they're starting to pop a little bit from sliding in and out of the torque box. So I'm going to fix that. And then I also am going to pull the C-clip eliminated axles out, and I'm going to grease the C-clip eliminator bearings, because we've already got 2,000 miles on the car. And they say do not use them for street use, but car runs great. Then the wife has also informed me of a plan for this car. This was our first budget car. We threw it together. It kind of became a donor car for some of the parts for Project Apocalypse with how fast we threw it together. So I got to put the switch panel back in, change up a little bit of the wiring. Nothing huge in that department. These adjustable shocks are going on the front for her. This is why we didn't have a back seat in here. This roll cage is just not the right shape to put the daughter back there for safety reasons. It's got a 6-point cage. It's just got a stock K-member. It's got the drive shaft safety loop already. It's got an 8.8. Actually, this is the 410 8.8, originally out of Apocalypse. It's a good little car, and the wife wants to get into some racing, so I said, hey, why don't we put the 387 back in this car? We took it out because we were going to put it into here. Then we got the 393, so I took the heads off of that, put them on here, so that way we could get around 10 to 1 compression, 10.5 to 1. And then this motor was at 12.5 to 1. So we put some 64cc heads on here. That should bring that down to about 10.5, which means this car, and this car, and that car all run on pump gas, because this one had to run on 110. So if we wanted to go to the racetrack, not only did we have to open up the billfold to pay for the truck's gas, but we had to pay, I think it was like $12 a gallon for this car. So when people are like, hey, you want to bring it to a cruise? Nope. But, I mean, in all honesty, most of it's here. I mean, all the gauges are set up. She does want to ditch these seats. So if anybody's looking for some, these do have the harness holes for your harness to come through up here. She's got good SFI belts. It's got a dash, got carpet. All it really needs is the motor put back in, a transmission, but I'm 50-50. I have some aluminum bell housings. But with her wanting to race it, I really want to try to find an SFI bell housing. And it's really hard to find one that's under like $500 for a small block Ford. But sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and spend the money. But I'm really hoping things work out to where maybe we can throw the aluminum bell in. She can get used to driving the car on the street. And then when I get a TKX for Project Apocalypse, we can take that bell housing out and put it into here. Sorry, Dad, I'll eventually get it back to you at some point. It's already got the rear end. We got drive shafts laying around. So I just need to make this happen. We got to get things like a radiator hoses, an ignition system. The big problem is the box that was originally in this car went into Project Apocalypse, and it failed. So we had to get another box for Apocalypse. Now this car has no ignition box. So I'm looking into some options. I'm thinking about checking out that progression ignition. Do we want to put it in the budget car, or do we want to put it in the hopped up hot rod? So, not sure what we're going to do there, because I want to keep this as an idea of complete budget. You know, stock K member, stock rear control arms. Well, I think I have south side bars in that, but they were off Marketplace. 387 budget engine, T5 versus the big buck aftermarket aftermarket K member, fully forged, all that good jazz, 393 stroker, hopefully eventually a TKX, spool, versus just, you know, what a regular guy can build in the barn, which, don't get me wrong, this can be built too. I mean, we got some great deals when we built this car, but this car was even more budget. Some of the big changes that are going to happen into here, she's going to get a power steering rack. We took the manual rack out and put it into that car. She wants power steering because she doesn't want to fight every time she's got to turn. And then the vacuum assisted brake system is getting yanked out of here. We're going to do the same setup we have in Apocalypse over here with the manual brakes from a Ranger. Mainly because, if we're racing and you want to stop, you don't want to sit there going through the traps at 115 and find out you have no brakes because you have no vacuum, and then you're trying to get off the return road at 60 miles an hour on skinnies, praying that you don't frickin' DB'd one. So we're going to take care of that for her. Again, this is a complete budget car. This car was actually bought by mistake. I messaged a gentleman. I said, hey, I'm looking for a hatch. Because my wife's car had a really rotted out hatch. It was completely gone all through here. So I was like, hey, that's a decent little hatch. That was before this rust popped through the Bondo here. That was nice. And I go, how much for the hatch? He goes, $200. I was like, that's how much a hatch usually goes for. I mean, I see him for $3, $4. Sure, that little bit of rust could probably be taken care of. I haven't gotten to it yet. That's my bad. And then I show up. I brought the car trailer and 4 tires to put the hatch down onto. And he goes, let me go get the forklift. I said, no, man, we can carry a hatch. And he goes, you want the whole car, don't you? And I was like, for $200? He goes, well, yeah, it's stripped. Just take it. Sure. He goes, here's the title. And I said, let's go. So we brought home a whole car. Had to change all of our plans because we were planning on going to get some other stuff from the trailer, but we ended up bringing a car home. So it originally was going to be sacrificed for parts for the wife's car, but then we sat here looking at it and we're like, hey, this is a really strong foundation here. I mean, we still got factory torque boxes, and the floor pan wasn't completely rotted out. It did have some of those stupid holes back here on the floor pan. But like I said, all of my cars I have had the same problem. So we'll deal with it that way. We turned it into a race car, and now we're going to turn it into the wife's race car. So maybe you'll see us out in a few years having both of these cars out here doing drag and drives. Then we just got to fight over who gets the toddler. I call dibs. Anyway, so that's what's going on with that. We need to find a few parts. Probably going to hunt on Facebook for them. Because if I can keep that car as budget as possible, that would be awesome. As far as this thing, I gotta get it off its brand new tires. Since we broke our rims on drag week, I want brand new tires on here. I don't want to get any flat spots. We like the way the new setup is. I can actually get in here and do stuff. I mean, I can sit in here comfortably and get to everything back here. We're gonna stack the T5s up. I'm actually thinking about making a shelf back there to have them sit like this. I can't keep the daughter out of the thing. We were at the track, changing that T5 out, and she was in here just playing. So I love the fact that we have it set up like a camper. If we need to sleep in here, we can squeeze in here if we take these racks out. So the main plan is, hopefully by the end of winter, we can at least come out with that car running with the Sniper. This car should be still running depending on how sick week goes. Start having that car almost ready to be put back together for spring. And then I need your guys' help on one more little side project. I might need some help finding some good deals on some parts, or if anybody has any for sale. They don't have to be high performance parts. I just need a cooling system, and we need to get the wife's Mustang, aka the Muskrat, thrown back together. She tore it apart because she wanted to paint it. Well, it's been almost 2 years now. It's kind of been a borrow parts car. I don't like that. She needs to have her car back. So what we do have in terms of a motor for it, I ended up with her 289 because she wants to run boost. Well, we don't want to ruin that block. It's 289 hypo. It's in really great shape. It runs really great. Throwing a bunch of boost through it, we're splitting the block. because she wants to run it on the stock computer, because that was a 4-cylinder car that we converted to a V8 with EFI, with GT40P intake. It was a pretty cool little build. I think it was the first one we did. So we want to take it up a little bit. This was the original engine out of my red car. Well, not the original one. This is the one I put into it. It was a little 306 out of an Explorer. It had the P heads on it. We did have the aluminum heads on there for a minute, but there wasn't really any point. We had a stage 1 cam in this thing, and then you just go to romp on it, and it was just like, whoa, we'll get there eventually. And I'm like, man, what is going on? Between the carburetor messing up, and well, here we find out I mistyped the number when I looked at the pistons. When Ford rebuilt it, they put it down to 8.5 to 1 or 8 to 1 compression. So it was really lousy. So we've been kind of sitting here like, man, you know, buying pistons and then buying a cam and then a set of heads again, and just to make some little naturally aspirated go-getter. Really wasn't what we were aiming for. And then I realized the wife has that header kit over there with that 7.3 turbo. Why don't we throw some stock heads, maybe find a mild cam. If we can't find a cam, we'll find a truck cam. I think I got a Explorer cam over here. I've got a couple selection of heads over here. I've got her 289 heads. We got some GT40 heads that need some work, and we got some Windsor heads. So we might throw something together without her knowing, because I already got bearings from Jegs right here, and the pistons are good. So if we can throw that together without her knowing, as long as I can fix all the T5s that we have here in-house with good cases, that'll leave us with 4. A non-world class, which kind of, I could probably throw that behind my red Mustang, because she's not really a power-hungry monster. And then we could give her a world class. We can put a world class over here into the Reaper Stang, and then hopefully I can get the TKX for Project Apocalypse, so that way we're not grenading trans. That way the wife has a budget race car, she has her cruiser car, we have my cruiser car and my race car, and then we can get these things going. So that's kind of the plan. Don't tell her that we're going to try to put her car together without her knowing. The plan is to get it put together, fix some of the wiring issues, and then hopefully get it to the point where we can start messing with the turbo stuff, and then be like, hey, surprise! You know, because at this point, I'd rather have it out running and driving than sitting in the back of my barn as a catch-all. So I felt really bad because all of our projects, we started building that car, and then that car was running and driving. We hurt the motor, threw the motor back together, threw it in, had to put it away for winter, decided we wanted to get into drag and drives, threw this car together, got it running and driving, still doing good. Then we got to put this car back together, and her car has just kind of been put on the back burner, and I want to bring it back. Get it back on the road. So that's the plan for winter. Lots of stuff. Odds of it getting done? I don't know yet. My at least plan is to get this thing down to sick week, I hope. Get back from sick week, hopefully with a running car. Start working on the sniper swap on this car, because that should be about $200 to finish that swap. Get it ready for spring. Get the motor back in there. Hopefully we don't kill any more transmissions. I'm going to play it safe. It might not be running the best times, but at least we're out there having fun, rather than just letting the car sit here and rot. And then hopefully we can get this car thrown together. Hopefully I can find an SFI bell housing for her. If not, I'm going to really look for a really good SFI clutch. At least get her out driving it, getting comfortable with it, you know, get her out there a little bit. And then I want to get her car going, but that might be end of spring next year thing, but I'm definitely going to start gathering parts up for it now. That way, when we do get to it, we can get that thrown together for her. And then hopefully, maybe if the economy gets a little better, maybe we can have all 4 cars running by the end of next year. That's the goal. That's the hope. But we all know crap happens. So I'm going to try to keep these things off jack stands as much as possible, but you just never know what's going to happen. We've done it before. I think we can do it again. Like I said, a lot of the hard stuff for the cars have already been done. It's just stupid things, which now eBay has. We've been running that eBay radiator for 2 years. It wasn't here. It's in there. It's doing good. So that might be the solution we run. Probably be the cheapest solution. So we've got plans. So stay tuned. I'll not sure how we're going to do the order of things. All I know is we got a lot of stuff to do. A little bit of time to do it. Daughter's rearranging my toolbox right now. That's great. And so we definitely have a lot of stuff to bring you. So stay tuned. We'll get to it. I'll try to bring you guys along for as much of it as I can. And then hopefully we can get that car back there thrown together for my wife as a surprise. So if you're watching this, don't tell her. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to know more about any of our plans or any of the builds, or know somebody who's got some parts that might help out, hit us up. Let me know. Thank you. You guys have a good one.